Hello everyone. Welcome to my channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before starting the video, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button and give this video a like up. Danielle Colby got her mojo back from an American Pickers episode. She's found her motivation through an unlikely source. In her latest Patreon blog post, the American Pickers star admitted that she has lost her desire to work again. It's unclear whether she meant filming for the History Channel show or her burlesque work. As fans know, Danielle is also a burlesque artist. Since she underwent a hysterectomy, she has to overhaul her lifestyle. When she's not looking for antiques on the long-running series, she posts steamy photos and videos on her OnlyFans page. However, she's been faced with a medical setback that's halted her work. In a previous Patreon post, Danielle Colby talked about her mental health. She struggled with anxiety and depression during her post-surgery recovery. Danielle had to halt her racy lifestyle. This means that she can't use any massagers in her work or personal life. Danielle recalled an intimate moment she had with her fiancé Jeremy Shoik. They wanted to introduce adult toys in the bedroom like they normally do. At first, he used the massager on her shoulders and farther down until she felt extreme pain down below. Danielle was concerned, and so she spoke to her doctor. "I was just having a severe muscle spasm from the massager. I called my doctor, and she informed us that is not okay." Danielle Colby wrote in her previous blog post, "We cannot be using any sort of massagers at this time, not until 16 weeks after the surgery. So, last night was a little bit terrifying until I was able to speak with my doctor." She also has been wearing compression socks since undergoing surgery. Danielle can't wear the sexy burlesque costumes and lingerie she typically does on Instagram. She has to change up her entire lifestyle at this point. This has made it hard for her to feel sensual and get back into her work. Danielle Colby returned to her Patreon blog to share an update. She admitted that she hasn't gotten her mojo back since then. The reality star has no interest in her adult work. She found inspiration from a burlesque artist who appeared on a throwback episode of American Pickers. "I received an email from Chantel's daughter stating that her mom, Chantel Capri, was shown on the American Pickers episode featuring Blaze Fury." Danielle Colby explained in her new Patreon blog post, "I had lost so much desire to work during this healing time, and now I have some of my excitement back after reading this email." She noted that she feels she's chosen the right career path. Danielle continues to share her recovery on social media. This comes on the heels of the new season of American Pickers, which is currently in production. Danielle will be opting out of that season for now. What are your thoughts on Danielle Colby getting her mojo back? Sound off below in the comments section. For years, Danielle Colby had been the vibrant heartbeat of American Pickers, the glue that held the chaos of rusty treasures, cross-country hunts, and eccentric sellers together. Her energy was magnetic, her wit sharp, and her style unmistakably her own. But lately, something had changed. Behind the scenes, she'd been feeling off. The sparkle that once fueled her had dimmed, dulled by exhaustion and the quiet ache of self-doubt. The camera still rolled, the crew still smiled, and Mike Wolf still cracked his usual junk jokes. But Danielle's fire, her mojo, had somehow gone missing. She'd kept going, of course. That's what Danielle Colby did. But deep down, she wondered if she'd lost touch with the fearless woman who once thrived on adventure, chaos, and discovery, until one fateful road trip changed everything. It started with a call from Mike. "Hey, Danny, got something special lined up in Kentucky. Small town, big secrets. You in?" Danielle hesitated for only a moment. "You know I am," she said, masking the weariness in her voice. 2 days later, she found herself riding shotgun in the American Pickers van again, the open road unfolding before her like a long-forgotten song. As the van hummed along, she leaned back, watching the landscape blur by, barns, fields, tiny antique shops dotting the horizon. She hadn't realized until that moment how much she'd missed the rhythm of the road. "Feels good, huh?" Mike said, glancing at her. She smiled faintly. "Yeah. Feels like old times." Their destination was a small, weather-beaten property outside of Bardstown, Kentucky, home to an elderly collector named Hank, rumored to have a barn full of treasures untouched for decades. When the crew arrived, Hank greeted them with a grin that could melt steel. "You're the Pickers, ain't ya?" he said, his voice rich with country charm. "Been waiting on y'all." As they followed him toward the barn, Danielle felt a familiar buzz. That tingling sense that something extraordinary was waiting just out of sight. Dust danced in the shafts of light that cut through the wooden slats, and the air smelled of rust, leather, and history. "Holy moly," Mike muttered as they stepped inside. "It's like a time capsule." Danielle's eyes widened. There were motorcycles from the 1940s, shelves lined with tin toys, stacks of vinyl records, and crates filled with handwritten letters from soldiers long gone. Every corner whispered a story, and suddenly, she felt it again, that pulse of excitement she'd been missing. While Mike dove into negotiations over an old Harley-Davidson, Danielle wandered deeper into the barn. Her boots crunched over straw and metal scraps until she spotted a small trunk tucked beneath a pile of newspapers. Something about it called to her. She brushed away the dust and opened it carefully. Inside was a collection of burlesque costumes, sequin corsets, feather fans, and vintage show posters from the 1950s. Danielle gasped softly. The colors were faded, but the spirit of the performers who once wore them seemed to shimmer through the years. "Mike," she called out, "you need to see this." When he joined her, she held up one of the corsets, its sequins glinting under the dim light. "These belong to dancers, real performers. Look at the craftsmanship. This isn't junk. It's art." Mike smiled. "You'd know, wouldn't you?" Danielle laughed, running her fingers over the delicate stitching. As a burlesque dancer and performer herself, she felt an instant connection to the pieces. It was as if she'd uncovered not just history, but a mirror of her own creative soul. "I think I just found my pick of the day," she said softly. Hank explained that the trunk had belonged to his late wife, a local performer who'd once traveled with a small burlesque troupe. "She loved the stage," he said, eyes glistening. "Said performing made her feel alive." Danielle's throat tightened. I know exactly what she meant. When filming wrapped for the day, Danielle couldn't shake the feeling that something had awakened inside her. That night, in her hotel room, she laid out one of the vintage posters she'd purchased, an image of a glamorous dancer twirling in feathers and light. She stared at it for a long moment, then smiled. That dancer, bold, unapologetic, and full of life, was who she wanted to be again, who she used to be. She spent hours researching the history of the burlesque troupe, scribbling notes, and even sketching costume ideas. By midnight, she was grinning like a woman who had rediscovered her own heartbeat. The next morning, Mike noticed the difference immediately. "You're glowing, Danny," he teased. "Find a secret stash of espresso or something?" She grinned. "Nope, just found a reminder of who I am." Back in Iowa, after the episode aired weeks later, Danielle's inbox was flooded with messages from fans. "Your energy is back. You looked happier than ever on that episode. Those costumes were amazing. Please tell me you're bringing them to your burlesque shows." Danielle read every comment, overwhelmed by the love and connection from viewers who'd noticed the change she hadn't even tried to hide. On Instagram, she posted a photo of the sequin corset from Hank's barn with the caption, "Sometimes, you don't just find treasures, they find you." The post went viral within hours, sparking conversations about vintage art, performance history, and the importance of reclaiming one's passion. For Danielle, it wasn't just another TV moment. It was a personal rebirth. She even began working on a new burlesque project inspired by the women in Hank's old photographs. They were pioneers, she told fans. They celebrated self-expression before it was accepted. That courage deserves to be remembered. And through that, Danielle Colby, artist, performer, picker, and soul searcher, found her rhythm again. Weeks later, during another American Pickers shoot, Mike nudged her between takes. "You know," he said with a grin, "I don't think I've ever seen you this happy on the road." She smirked. "Guess I just needed to get my mojo back." Mike chuckled. "Well, whatever you did, keep doing it. The show's not the same without that Danielle." As the cameras rolled again, Danielle flashed her trademark smile, wind tussling her hair. She looked around at the piles of history surrounding her, the rusted signs, the faded photos, the forgotten relics waiting to be loved again. And for the first time in a long time, she didn't feel like she was just chasing stories. She was one, a story of resilience, of rediscovery, of finding magic in the dust and courage in the rust. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay with us.